Hello and welcome as we go live to explore German language and culture. Today we're joined by Kathrin McMillan, the head of language courses in Melbourne at Goethe Institute, and Polaron's director Eva Hussein. Don't forget to subscribe to our Facebook page where we upload videos weekly. Over to you, Eva.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and welcome, Kathrin. Good morning.
Morning. Nice to be here.
Very, very excited to have you on board. And I know a little bit about you, but people that are watching don't. Could you tell us where you work and how you got into language teaching, actually? Because from what you said earlier is that you started as an English teacher, and now for the last 10 years or so, you've been working for the Goethe Institute, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was always interested in languages from a very early age onwards. And in Germany, it's compulsory to learn some languages at least. And it always grabbed my attention. I was always happy about the progress that I was making there. So I decided to become a German and English teacher in Germany before I met my husband, who's Australian. And I worked in Germany in a high school as an English teacher and a German teacher after I had finished my studies at a university in Gießen. And then we decided to give Australia a go for a couple of years, we thought. That's now 12 years ago. And it's been far too easy to live here and work here in Australia. I guess that's why we're still here and happy here. I used to work here as a teacher in a primary school at the start for 4 years as a teacher of German. So I understand the other perspective now. Teaching German to Australians is a very different thing than teaching German to German kids, obviously. But luckily I had the English background to fall back on, the English teaching background. Yeah, and then since 2012, I've been working for the Goethe Institute as a head of language course office, and loving it.
And before we came online, we were bemoaning, I guess, the lack of priority that language learning is given in Australia a little bit. But you have had some real success stories with people that have embraced German as a language with gusto. And in fact, you said that somebody's already doing their PhD. What would you say are key components to successful language learning?
Well, we can start with the boring bits that are very necessary. So everyone has to be aware that it takes time to learn a language, and some people are very enthusiastic when they start a language because they think they put the hour a week aside or 1.5 hours a week aside to just attend a language course. But unfortunately, that's not the whole story. So you have to put some time aside to revise the things you learn in class and also to prepare the things that you will look at the next week. And I think that makes, at least in the beginnings of learning a language, that makes a successful learner if you don't underestimate the time spent with that language. And you can immerse yourself. I mean, even in Australia, there's hundreds of ways to immerse yourself in the language that you're learning because of the internet and because of all the different materials that are on offer. And still, I mean, Melbourne or some Australian cities as multicultural cities offer so much in terms of places to practice your language. No matter, I guess a lot of languages are featured here. So example, German, you can go to a German restaurant and you can order in German because everyone's working there. You can listen to German podcasts and blogs and find ways to surround yourself with the language. Yeah. And then, I mean, some people say it takes a certain talent to learn a language, and I'm not sure if that's entirely true. I guess it helps if you don't have a lot of inhibitions to imitate someone, or you don't feel ashamed to copy an accent that you think sounds funny. But I think most of all, it takes motivation and a goal to learn the language and time to set aside to do that. And then you can get to a very high level without considering yourself an absolute talent for learning languages. Yeah.
Right. And I think just picking up on what you said, adult language learning is quite different to kids' language learning. Kids don't care whether they're mispronouncing things or, they're like sponges. But for adults, it's a little bit more difficult. But then again, as you said, there are so many things you can do with the internet, with, you just need to be actively learning, I guess. Tell us about a bit more about the Institute. So I know that it's a very vibrant and proactive, I think, institution. What does Goethe Institute do? What's the history of it?
Mm-hmm. The Goethe Institute is a non-for-profit organization supported by the German government, and we are now, I think, 70 years old. If I get it correctly, I think the first one was founded in 1951. So we're operating worldwide. We've got about 160 institutes worldwide, and in Germany as well. And our aim, I guess, is to support people wanting to learn German, as well as facilitate cultural exchange between all of the countries. Yeah, and look after bilateral relations as well, or multilateral relations in that way. Mm.
Excellent. And let's say somebody did want to learn German, they can enroll in a course, and I think you have both face-to-face and online courses, is that right?
Yeah. So last year, with the pandemic approaching, we had to swap all of our courses to an online format, and it was quite daunting, but it happened so quickly that we all couldn't believe how positive it all went, because of all the teachers had to be trained to be online teachers in a very short time, but they did a magnificent job doing that. And luckily, the Goethe Institute had an online learning platform just before COVID erupted.
Wow.
So we just could fall back on that. And now we ask people, do you want to go back to the classroom? Do you want to have back the old way of learning, with a book and with a teacher and once a week session? And funnily enough, and the majority said, no, we want to stick to the online learning platform. We're happy to come back in, but we're also happy to have that flexibility that the online component allows us. So yeah, to our surprise, only 1/3 of the courses is now happening in a face-to-face environment. 2/3 are still online. Mm.
I must be old school, Kathrin, possibly old, but I don't like to think of myself that way. But I so prefer, like, online is wonderful, and it's got such a lot of potential, and it's a great way of learning. But I still think there's something to be said about people being in the same room and sort of learning organically, right? Do you find that being a teacher with so many years of experience, both in English and German, do you think people learn better online or offline?
Well, it's a complex question, because I think there's pros and cons on both sides. I get what you're saying, and I also am the same sort of learner that you are. I love to be in a room with people, tangible people I can see, look into the face, and having a laugh. It's much more difficult to transport humor, for example, into an online classroom. It's very hard for the teacher to engage all the students in a way that you can laugh at the same thing, because by nature of the medium, everyone is in their own space, and it's not as organic, the atmosphere that is created. However, in the online classroom on Zoom, which we're also using, there's so many ways to engage students, maybe not in a humorous way all the time, but in a way that lets them talk. And I guess that's our aim, to let the students interact as much as possible. And with breakout rooms, or with the democratic system of Zoom, where students can just take over the board and write down things and use the chat and use all the options they have to communicate to each other, not just in the spoken language, but also written, and in their breakout rooms. I guess it's possible to have a good learning scenario as well, where you get to talk a lot and where you get to know the other people in the class on a personal basis as well. So yeah, I could talk about it for a long time, but I guess both systems have their advantages. And lots of people, have now been able to learn German for the first time because they live in rural Australia and there were no courses available to them so far. So now people from Gippsland or people from, South Australia, they just are very happy that we keep the online classes, because that's their only exposure to German courses that they can do. So we are very happy to cater for that audience as well.
Of course, and it just makes things more accessible, as you said, where once upon a time you'd have to get into a car, drive for 2 hours or whatever it is, or buy a book. So there's pros and cons. But talk to us about German language, because you often hear people, oh, that's such a difficult language, it's so complex, it's such a complex grammar. Is it true for an English learner? Because they're in the same language family, essentially German, and and English. So there are commonalities. How hard is it really to learn German for an English speaker that's got no experience or no exposure to the language?
I can say that if you could put yourself on mute, Eva, for just 1 second, it's it's a bit of a thanks. I think the beginnings of learning German are quite easy because, as you just said, German and English are related kind of cousins in the language family. So English speakers are always surprised about the number of words they do understand in a text, even though they have no exposure to German. They're just getting a text from the teacher to find out, hey, what is the gist of this text? And even with no previous experience, they can tell us, is this a newspaper article about the technical advanced stages of immunization? I don't know, like something really complicated, because there are so many words that are derived from each other's language. And that's what makes the beginnings of German quite easy. So even the sentence structure is not very different at the start. So we've got the, subject, verb, object. It's all kind of easy to understand. And that's what makes people in the early stages of learning German quite enthusiastic. However, I mean, if you get to a let's say, more advanced level of German from B2 onwards, I guess, or even a bit before. B1 is kind of the threshold level that people tend to go, oh, it's a little bit harder than I thought it would be, because then we have more complex sentence structures. And the fact that in English, lots of things are just missing out of the language. So we don't have any cases, and the sentence structure is quite rigid in English. You cannot change the words around as we do in German. But I always try to teach, or when I used to teach, I always used to sell it as a really beautiful component of the German language, to be so flexible in the sentence structure from a certain level onwards, because you can then put meaning in a sentence in a totally different way by just shifting the words around. And you said before, it's a system, it's a logical system. And once you are understanding the rules of that system, and there are many rules, but once you understand the majority of them, then it will come easy to you. And there's a time as well in your language learning journey where it becomes easier again. I guess B1, B2 is kind of the place where people think, oh, it's really hard, and there's so many words, I would never be able to remember all of them. I can reassure you that most learners that are sticking to it say it's becoming easier again later on. Yeah.
Cool. So I should explain and apologize for the background noise to everybody, but today I'm in Brisbane and I'm at a conference center and there are no quiet spots, so my apologies. But what I'm going to do actually is ask Stephanie to check out, because we have a lot of questions for you, Kathrin, and that way you won't hear the background noise. All right, over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you. This has been such an interesting session. So you, Kathrin, speak German with your children. Why is it so important for them to learn the language?
Well, I speak German to them because everything else would be unnatural for me, first of all. Like all the bedtime stories, all the poems, all the songs we do, I only know them in German. But from a practical perspective, there's lots of reasons that speak for bilingual education. And more people in Australia, I must say, are understanding the importance, or at least here in Melbourne, understanding the importance of a bilingual upbringing. So the German school, for example, in Fitzroy, are now frequented by Australian parents who have no connection to Germany or to German, just because they understand that bilingual upbringing has a lot of positive effects on their kids' brains. So apart from the perspective change that the kids are enabled with, they kind of jog their brain on a day-to-day basis, and they look at things. I have got this one very quick story that I've always found fascinating, and I always want to tell it to people. There's two kids, one bilingual kid, one monolingual kid. They're sitting at a table and they have got 3 cars, different size, in front of them, and then a book behind them. And the adult on the other side of the table says, can you give me the biggest car? And the kids that are monolingual give them the biggest car, that the person can't see. And the bilingual kids, they give the adult the biggest car that they can see, because they understand they want that car. They don't want the car that I see. They give them the biggest car that they can see. So it's and it's been proven in so many different ways that the perspective change is so good and so needed nowadays, that kids already start to understand that their way of seeing the world is not the only way, and there's other ways that are equally as important and as valid as their way. And we cannot start early enough, I guess, to get kids on that boat. Yeah, especially at the moment. If you look around in the world, that's what we need. We need people to understand each other more. Yeah.
And it connects your children to their heritage as well, in such like a
absolutely
way,
very practical reasons are the same importance as all the philosophical reasons behind it, I guess. I mean, I want my kids to be able to talk to my mom and to my friends in Germany, obviously.
Of course.
And also to understand German in a deeper way. And also, I guess it's important because I want them to be able to read German books and read German newspapers and not be fed information by media or by whatever they choose to consume. I want them to have their own way of looking at things by educating themselves if they want to, in a first-hand way.
Yeah, it will give them such a great perspective from different viewpoints, definitely. We've got viewers from all around the globe who like to watch these sessions. So I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the German diaspora here in Melbourne.
The German community, I guess a few years ago, I read we've got about 20,000 Germans here in Melbourne. And I don't know if that number has dropped or inclined. I'm not sure. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. But it's a quite active community, and you see them regularly in the German restaurants when they're craving that German food. That's when we meet each other. But also in the German Film Festival, and also there's various German play groups for kids here as well. There's German churches for people who want to worship in their own language. And they're doing all kinds of activities, but the Goethe Institute also tries to obviously facilitate cultural events from all the German artists. And before COVID, we were always able to invite exciting artists from Germany or German-speaking countries to feature their work here in Melbourne. And they were always very popular with the German community here, as well as with the Australian community, who have got one way of connecting to German or the other. At the moment, it's all taking place online. It's not been easy, but it's not been unsuccessful either. So there are people who are still taking part in events, even though it's just online. We're now slowly going back to normal, and I hope we're continuing that way to be able to have people over and not just online events.
You also have a lot of different sort of courses at your institute, not just language as well. How can people get involved?
So everyone who studies German with us has got access to all of the different features that we offer to our students. So we've got a library, an online library that students can access, a resource center with textbooks that they can access in person at the Goethe Institute, but we also do events for course participants, as well as for just other people that want to connect to German. So we've got a trivia night coming up, which is free. We've got a games night, a board games night for the long winter nights, just connecting to German ways of spending winter. We do play a lot of board games in Germany because winter is quite long and there's only so much you can talk about. So everyone is very happy if someone just brings out a fun game. And lots of different ways. I mean, we've got conversation courses, we've got different topics that we deal with in workshops. So it's not just the long language courses that we're offering and as a straight way of acquiring a language. There's lots of fun side bits that people can either, I mean, if they have the time, they can either participate or they just, do their language course.
Yeah, we're kind of running out of time, but Eva had one more question, which was, who is the institute named after?
Oh, the institute was named after Johann Wolfgang Goethe. He was a German, or the most famous German poet, novelist, playwright, who wrote works like Faust, which has been translated in any language that I can think of. He lived in the 18th century. And shaped German culture in a very particular way, and is still regarded and still played in all of the theaters, because all of his pieces are classics now, and they've been reinterpreted and they are timeless. And if anyone gets a chance, read some of Goethe's work. The ideas behind it are still as fascinating as they were back in the days when they first came out, in a very volatile also society of Germany, back then.
So I'm going to unmute myself because I do have just a couple of quick questions for you, Kathrin. And one is, obviously, if people are wanting to learn German, they should contact you. That's obvious. But what are some of the other things that people could involve? And you've covered some of it, like, there are podcasts, there are online apps. But could you give us just like a 3-point, somebody that's starting from zero, what could they do? Practically speaking, to acquire German language skills relatively quickly. And you've already said that, to master it, it's another kettle of fish, as we say. But what about some basic German? Where can you get that?
I think a very important bit of your language journey is to have a purpose and a goal. And so if you set yourself a goal, for example, a certificate or some sort of validation of a goal, or even just a journey to Germany, then you have got an outline of what you have to learn until then. And then you can tackle it. It's kind of a structural kind of process. You can tackle it in a variety of ways. One very successful way is connecting to other learners of German worldwide, which we also do. So we facilitate that on one of our websites. It's called Deutsch für dich, German for you. It's a free website that everyone can access who's studying with us, or don't have to study with us even. It's just free for everyone, basically. And we are there connecting language tandems between learners of German worldwide. And you can choose whether they are situated in Germany already, or if you want to learn with someone in Australia or in the region. And it's very good to have someone that you can authentically talk about something that matters to you, and not just always deal with the content that is created by publishers of German textbooks, which it's good for learning, it's good for understanding the grammar behind it because it's made that way, but it's not the message that you want to bring across in your life, because you want to talk about different things. You want to talk about food all the time because you're a foodie, or you want to talk about books or other things that cannot be transported in the way that you need it in textbooks. So yeah, that's one way. So German for you, Deutsch für dich, is one of the best sites that I can introduce for learners, because it not only offers this sort of exchange between students, but also a myriad of different ways and media. And you can personalize it by saying, I'm on the A1 level. I only want podcasts that deal with animals. So you can be very specific in your choice of content and in your choice of media, and then you only get fed in your daily feed on that website. You can get fed those things that really interest you, and I think that's a great way to start. And then go out and about and find people that here in Meetup Groups as well. There's Meetup Groups all over the place. I saw the other day there's about 4 different Meetup Groups, just German Meetup Groups here in Melbourne, and I guess that's the people you want to meet. That's the people you want to hang out with. And I hope they're nice, but also it's going to be very effective if you meet once a week or once a month in a nice restaurant and talk about things in an informal way and assist your classroom learning that way.
So all of it is about, really what you're talking about is application, habit, and passion, but also determination, I guess, would be another word that I would use here, and just structured learning and immerse yourself in the language. One of them is in travel, unfortunately, because we can't. But before we came on air, you did say that you come from Frankfurt or Frankfurt areas. Yep. Is that the best city in Germany?
No, by far not. I must say, as much as I love Frankfurt, it's a great way of landing in Germany and then leaving Frankfurt again with a very good train connection that you get to all the beautiful cities in Germany. Frankfurt is a modern city, and I guess not made for people to explore Germany. It's a bank city and it's very expensive, and it's for business. But if you want to explore Germany, I recommend going to places that are not just Berlin and Munich, but explore the smaller places. You know, you get to talk German there. In Berlin, everyone talks English with you, no matter if you're German or not, or English or not, or German. Like everyone's so cool, they're so hip. Everyone wants to talk English and practice their English. If you go to smaller places, not only can you practice your German, but you understand what real Germany is about. And it's sometimes not that picturesque, and it's not that flash or postcard like. It's also sometimes, you know, just a little bit rough, but it kind of completes your picture of the country, and you don't want to just have the postcard view if you spend a longer time there. Obviously, if you only have a week, go to the postcard places by all means. But if you've got a longer time, and if you want to live there for a while, and if you want to see if you really get along with people there, go to the smaller places, talk to some people there. Everyone's at first a little bit suspicious if strangers are talking to you, because we're not in Australia where everyone talks to everyone and everyone's happy about it. But when you show a real interest in meeting someone, Germans can be a very pleasant people as well.
I mean, I've been to Germany quite a few times, but the first time I went was when I was 15. So from Poland, this was during the communist era, and we went to East Germany, which was very advanced for us, because, you know, the closer you got to the west, the more advanced things were. And I still remember being an amateur. Maybe not suspicious, I wouldn't call them that maybe, but, you know, surprised that you're interested in the culture, because, you know, you've got cities like Berlin or Cologne or whatever, where, you know, everyone's hip and modern, I guess. But if you look at the beaten track, or you know, off to the side a little, I think the Germany that you can find very surprising and very vibrant and very dynamic and interesting. And I think in one of our variations of German, of course, the German you're talking about is the High German, but there are lots of dialects and lots of very interesting nook and crannies when it comes to Germany. So I, for one, am very much looking forward to being able to travel. We can't yet, but you've certainly taste, and you know, it's so clear that you're so very passionate and in love with the culture and the language, and I think it's infectious. So having worked at the Institute for 10 years, I think that's a long time in a job, and that must mean that you love it, right?
Absolutely. Every bit about it, I must say. I'm very happy to communicate my love for languages to other people.
And again, you know, if anyone's interested in formal studies, I would strongly to the Goethe Institute. The classes, the website's wonderful, actually. If people haven't seen it, go and have a look, because there's a lot of resources, lots of links. It's very well organized. I think it's one of those stereotypical Germans in Germany that everyone's really organized, but it's true in my experience. So it'll give you structured learning, and it'll give you, you know, a taste of the beautiful language that German is. And I would strongly encourage people to reach out. You don't have to be Melbourne. As Kathrin said already, there's lots of hybrid learning about. Contact Goethe, and I think it's you know, I might sign up myself. It's not a language that I've learned, but it's a language that I love from afar. But I wanted to hand over to you, Kathrin, just for the last few words, I guess, of encouragement for people that are considering learning German, and how they can get in contact with you, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can encourage you to learn German. It's not as hard as it seems at the start, and I think it's got a more difficult reputation than the language actually is. So do give it a go. There's heaps of people in the same boat, and everyone's a bit apprehensive at first starting a language in their adult life, but it's a lot of fun because of that fact. When you sit in the classroom together with a lot of people who are a little bit, you know, shy at the start, it's a great journey that you can go together. And yeah, participate in so many fun events as well, apart from the language course. So yeah, get in contact with us if you want to have a look what's on offer. I've got my name on the website. Just look at Google Goethe Melbourne and then go through to the language course department. And me and my colleague Sophia, we are always happy to help everyone who wants to give a go. We find something for you.
Kathrin, can I say thank you so
Eve is cutting out, but
again,
I
we
think
encourage
she
people
wants
to learn languages.
Sorry, Evie, you're cutting out a little bit, but I might just take over for a moment and just say thank you so much. Yeah. It's been wonderful having you on, and it's been so interesting. And it's the same as Eva, that your passion for the German language is definitely very inspiring. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you both. Bye.
Bye.